Jeffy's 19th birthday, the follow-up to the last year's video's Jeffy's 18th birthday. Duh. Now we all remember everything. But if you somehow forgot, the plot of the Jeffy's 18th birthday video was Nancy, Jeffy's mom, coming back from prison with her master plan of kidnapping Jeffy to get his dad's inheritance from his former father. But the thing that comes to light is the fact that Jacques-Pierre Francois, his dad, is no longer dead after some Spider-Verse bullshit of coming back from another universe or something, I forgot. And since he is no longer alive, Jeffy gets no money, while Marvin, being the selfish father he was, is now permanently stuck with Jeffy. Oh, and Nancy kinda died. The end. And a few weeks back, Logan announced the Jeffy's 19th birthday video, advertised in his own words, bigger, better, and more explosions. Well, one of those things were true at least. So I watched Jeffy's 19th birthday, and this was, well, I can say it was a bit better than the first movie. The movie had a lot more action, surprisingly not much filler outside of the very end where they drag on the not so emotional death scene, and the camera work and drone shots have improved a lot. With that being said, this movie is plagued with so many issues and I cannot wait to break them apart. So let's talk about why Jeffy's 19th birthday was not worth the hype and it was such a disappointment for a sequel. The movie begins with Screwball suddenly having a plan, or an extension of the plan from the last video, and I already have so many questions in the first 10 seconds. When did Nancy and Screwball ever organize this plan? When did they ever have time to plan out hiding Nancy? When did they have time to do this? Because the events of the first movie took place in a literal few hours. So how on earth did they have time to ever plan this far ahead? And then it's revealed that Nancy somehow survived both a gunshot to the head at point blank range and a van explosion. I'll get into this later. I will flame this bitch, I promise you. Anyway, they plan to hijack a bus, and Nancy still believing Jeffy has the inheritance money. But the issue with the plot is the same as last year's video. With the dad no longer being alive, there is really no stakes at all. Since Jeffy does not have the money, there is no longer no suspense of Jeffy being kidnapped. There is no suspense of anything bad happening to Jeffy. And it's the same with the video. Outside of the kids being taken away, no stakes at all. Anyway, they steal Jackie Chu's bus with the kids inside, and they are reported to Brooklyn Guy and Simmons. Brooklyn Guy attempts to stop the bus, he gets in a shootout with Nancy, and then Nancy, very stupidly for some reason, decides to blow up the bus. Why? Again, later on. And surprise, surprise, no one dies. I just described the entire movie and the plot to you. This movie is 15 minutes long, and that is all it has to offer. The movie is certainly a bit better than last year's for what it did. It was a lot more action-packed, it had no filler compared to the atrocious Jeffy 18th birthday video. And on that note, I will go over all the positives before we get into the negatives and tear this movie apart. First and foremost, the lack of filler. Again, Jeffy's 18th birthday was so plagued with filler, despite the runtime of 38 minutes long. From the lack of things happening until 18 minutes in when finally Marvin gets kidnapped, then 10 minutes of filler from Brooklyn Guy complaining about everybody forgetting his birthday, to showing off his new car that serves no purpose, to so much talking on the couch. And though it is a bit of a negative for the awful pacing of how things speed up so fast, I do still like how there was no filler while getting into the action. But again, it could be just because of the bad pacing. Another positive is that once again, them renting a bus and a police car to then damage both of them. Look, I know over the years I said a lot of shit about pointing out how many of Logan's ideas do not work, how most of his ideas are horrible. But one thing I always compliment is his dedication for getting props and stuff. I love the improved camera work and action scenes. As they were longer, they look so much better than the generic pan up or overhead zoom, and I can respect him at least on that level. And finally, the character of Brooklyn Guy is so much better in this movie. If you remember my video on the Jeffy's 18th birthday video, alongside Rose, Brooklyn Guy was the biggest issue of the movie. He was the main focus, and because he took up so much screen time with his style of humor, he was the comic relief to the insufferable degree. To repeat, at the most serious part of the movie with Marvin being kidnapped, he cries that everybody forgot his birthday, He starts thinking with Simmons, he shows off his car, and then he reveals his entire plan to stop Nancy, who overhears him. Then he refuses to bring any backup or weapons to stop her because she promised she won't have any weapons. And then he jokes about Simmons killing Jeffy at the end. He was so much in that movie. But in this video, and it could be due to the sacrifice of a shorter runtime, where Brooklyn Guy was the hero. From thankfully not making too many jokes and being competent at his job, he saves the day and the kids. And for once he actually cares about Penelope, the character no one gives a shit about, by the way. And I was more shocked at the fact he didn't tell her to shut up like he always does. And that is literally all the positives of the movie. The action scenes being longer, the camera work improving, and Brooklyn Guy being the best character, because we are going to tear this movie apart. The advertisement. Let's not kid ourselves. Logan overhyped this movie so much, and it's so sad that a lot of people expected it to be better than last year's video. Logan, the man himself, described the movie as bigger, better, and a longer runtime than the first movie, clocking in at an estimate of 40 to 55 minutes at most. But this is what we got. 15 minutes. I can order a pizza and it'll be done by the time this video is over. I wanted to stream the movie originally, but with a 15-minute runtime, what was the point? Logan also gave out subtle hints that Nancy may or may not be alive. Exhibit A. Brooklyn Guy breaking the fourth wall in a GTA 6 video, talking about how everything in the SML universe is not canon.
Did anybody die? Barbecue chicken. Did he die? Is he okay?
I do think he perished in the car explosion, but I don't think that's canon. I think that might just be for this video, because like usually when people die in videos, they do return, unless it's like a really big deal, like Jeffy's mom in the SML movie for his 18th birthday. And even that's like kind of iffy. Like she might come back. I mean, we all used to be turtles, so I mean anything goes, really. I mean, Joseph used to be rich. I mean, what happened to that? We knocked that off after the backlash, you know, so, I mean, it's up to you, man.
It does not help with the non-classified SML files at the behind-the-scenes images, and they forgot to not include Nancy in one of the photos. This is when people realized that Mr. Winkle is not going to be the main villain after all, and the mystery was pretty much ruined. And then Lance concluded that the video was going to be 15 minutes to 20 minutes long. I don't really know why there was an estimate there, but it was only just 15 minutes. And then surprised to absolutely nobody, Nancy came back. Here is mine and my friend 1UP Films reaction when we saw her. I saw Jackie Chu, that's not much of a spoiler. What the?
I thought you died.
What the fuck?
Tried to kill me.
I literally said, I can't be 100% surprised because I kind of theorized that I was right.
Stupid son shot me in the head. Good thing I'm hard-headed.
But the van exploded.
Oh my
I
God.
jumped out, big whoop.
I literally told myself they would have did this.
What if I told you I could make you rich?
Again, people before this moment noticed stuff like Nancy's puppet in one of the behind-the-scenes photos, literally ruining any surprise villain into the Junko Enoshima route of being the mastermind again. And this is the rarest time I have ever seen the community. Even SML fans admit this movie was the middest shit ever. But I will still say, it was at least a bit better than Jeffy's 18th birthday. The plot holes. I have a lot to say, but I don't even know where to begin. From the bad advertisement, to the horrible rush story, to the repeated concept all over again. Well, I'll go in order. So, this plot is the same fucking plot, point to point from the last video. This story takes place an entire year after the events of the first one. And let's not beat around the bush, Nancy is back. Let's ignore the fact they gave her no reason for how she possibly survived a gunshot to the head in a van explosion. And Nancy's only response is, "Big whoop, of course I'm alive." That's her quote from the actual movie. I literally called that she'll be alive, and I did not want her to. But what's even more confusing, in my opinion, is the plan. How did no one realize Nancy was dead? How did Screwball get this letter summoning him to the woods? Why is Screwball even cooperating with her after last time? When did Screwball and Nancy ever have time to plan this out? Because in the last movie, they only met for a few hours. How did Screwball get this letter? And most importantly, how did Nancy survive? If I have to ask this many questions and the story is not gonna answer any of it for me and they just speed past it, that is lazy writing. And Nancy surviving impossible odds and not even explaining it is not good writing. Logan only did it for shock value without thinking about the implications of how lazy this seems. Next, and this is more of a side note and a few comments, but Rose saying she has PTSD over last time. Bitch, as I recall, you were more concerned over Mario having a side piece than your man probably getting killed by Nancy. And PTSD, you didn't do jack shit. It was Marvin and Brooklyn that was busting their asses off. You didn't do nothing. Next, Marvin pointed out in the video Jeffy had a car that he could have taken to school, but the story made him take the bus anyway. This coincidence turned out to be more dumber than having all the kids dress up like Jeffy to confuse the villain for a misunderstanding. In this movie, they have Jeffy take the bus. Why? Honestly, you could have made Jeffy drive to school, and you could have had the same plot of like Nancy and Screwball kidnapping him on his way there. Or I don't know, have him reach the school, get into the parking lot, and then they were waiting for him there or something. No, a dumb excuse. Even Logan pointed out his plot hole just to get all the kids on the bus for tension. How nice. Skipping to the part of the ending with, again, another death fake out. You know, it was predictable enough Logan was not gonna get rid of Jeffy, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't get people who actually cried their eyes off at the ending of the last video. If you actually thought Jeffy was gonna die, I don't know, man. But this is even worse because the cop-out ending in the last movie was already shitty, but they tried to pull the exact same thing again. Okay, in both movies the explosion was cool, but once you understand that nobody's fucking died, I'm not even invested, I'm just waiting for the bullshit to be over with. And they dragged this scene on and on, while thankfully not as sappy and manipulative. And don't get me started on Simmons saving the kids at Mach speed a second before the bus exploded. For 15 minutes, this video had so many plot holes. And the last ending joke of Logan admitting that he just repeated the same concept again and saying he is still original. Logan, buddy, come here, just come here. Sit with me. Look, you do this crap all the time. Looking at your audience, admitting you were too lazy to fix things you could have done at any time, admitting you wrote yourself into a corner and bullshit your way every time. You have done this joke for so long. You're not being funny and witty anymore. You're not Deadpool. You are telling us to our faces that you do not give a crap about your writing and your show. And ironically, people who do point out your writing mistakes are just evil critics who don't know what they're talking about and who don't know what true art form is. Logan is so insecure when people dare point out his flaws, and he feels the need to joke about them before we do. Stop. It's not funny. People say I'm too critical, and look, I just have an eye for details, okay? And I will point out stuff if the writer didn't care to. But this movie is so heavily rushed to the point that it ignores so much of the important questions. Like, what in the world was Nancy doing all year up to this point? Or how did she not know that Jock was still alive? Or how did Nancy survive? So many questions that the movie doesn't want to answer and they just speed past it. The movie just straight blazes from the return of Nancy to stealing the bus to immediate action, and then it ends. As much crap as I gave Jeffy's 18th birthday video, I can say at least a lot happened, even the things that I didn't want to happen. And honestly, this video is the same issue with the opposite problem. While Jeffy's 18th birthday was so long to the point the filler had to fill out the runtime, this video was so rushed and had fast pacing and little downtime to process anything. Oh, and again, the stakes were so low because once again, I gotta say it, since we know Jeffy's dad is alive, the plan has no stakes. I keep reminding you because Logan completely fucked up any emotional weight, any real stakes or real reason to care. Jeffy's dad is alive in the universe for the sole purpose of a cop-out for Jeffy to stay in the show. It truly shows how he cares more about the impact for the character filling his wallets than an actual real reason to keep up with the lore of his show. Everything about this was just kind of pointless for me to care about. And I'll mention this when we get to the character section, but they were all kind of pointless. Okay, not completely pointless, but even then, no one even did anything to stop the kidnapping. The kids realize they're being kidnapped, and they just kind of sit there. Screwball didn't even have a weapon or anything. And Nancy blowing up the bus. As cool as the explosion was, I gotta ask, why did she do that? The plan was to kidnap the kids for ransom. Her words, not mine. So why did she decide to blow up the bus full of hostages and Jeffy The kid who has the non-inheritance? Outside for the sake of another explosion, the writing makes the characters so stupid. It's like only the action was thought of first and not the characters in writing. And again, the ending. Dragging on the same emotional manipulation ending. It's already insulting that they pulled this last year. At least in Jeffy's 18th birthday there was a few jokes, and although Jeffy was not gonna die, at least it set the mood of Marvin and Rose grieving. But here, you have Marvin and Rose cracking dumb jokes with the sad music playing. I really feel like I'm watching a Family Guy gag. Logan, do you want me to cry or do you want me to laugh? Because this bit goes on with the sad music playing while Marvin and Rose are continuing to make puns. Because this joke goes on and I was more laughing than crying my eyes out. If you want the audience to laugh, tell jokes. You want them to cry? Keep the jokes separate from the more serious moments. Because the tone is so confusing. So yes, the writing was so rushed, it didn't give out any useful information. And the information that should have been explored was pushed to the wayside of, oh, it happened, ignore it, don't think about it, moving on. Let's talk about the characters. So Marvin and Rose, honestly, they didn't really do anything in this movie. But I gotta comment once again, Rose talking about she has PTSD. From what? From what? Being a hoe? Junior and Friends, they didn't serve much of a purpose last video, and they didn't serve much of a purpose now. And once again, Cody pointing out something that is suspicious and he does nothing about it. But at least it wasn't him pointing out the van was obviously suspicious and warns everybody, and then the next minute he's joining in asking for ice cream. Screwball didn't really do much this time, and he had less of a role than last movie. All he did was agree to the plan and drive the bus, that's it. Now for Nancy. You know, I love Nancy as the overarching villain, and she was without a doubt the best and most threatening villain of SML history. I loved her in the last movie, even if the money cop-out ruined her motive of the entire series. But this movie, I hated the way she was lazily written. Again, since we know the dad is alive, oh, you get the idea. And also get ready for Jeffy's 20th birthday when we find out Nancy has another clone of herself, or she's a Terminator, or she has a one-up mushroom on her. Also, again, Nancy blowing up the bus was so stupid. Again, why did she blow up the bus full of her hostages when she was trying to make money off of them? And finally, Brooklyn Guy was obviously the main goal. Thankfully, Logan chose to subdue his most stupid and comedic side and make him more serious and competent. This is how I wanted Brooklyn Guy last year, and I'm so happy at least he was like this year. They could have easily made him not care about the children or neglect his job like last year, but no. And I am so thankful for that. And although yes, towards the end they switched him right back to his comic relief self with breaking the fourth wall about how cheap the writing was, while I wasn't a fan of that, it was so nice to see that Brooklyn Guy was great. So what do I think about this movie? Overall, this movie was such a disappointment. I'm not gonna retract that it was better than Jeffy's 18th birthday, but the reason why I say it's better is also because I think it's because Jeffy's 18th birthday was such a drag and a slog to get through. When you get right down to it, this movie is just the second movie, a much more watered down version of the movie. 18th birthday has so much pointless moments, so much filler, so many character ruining moments that made me want to tear my hair out, and things that actively killed my chances of liking the movie. But this movie got rid of a lot of filler, it got to the point, even if it was rushed. It had longer action scenes, and some of the characters were a lot better, so it's like a marginal step above it. Even if it was slightly better, I still say I am extremely disappointed, and this is extremely mid. Now, the movie does go a bit above and beyond for the action, but I cannot give the movie that much slack when it's just the first movie all over again, just with a different direction. So it's like a 6.5 for me. Not perfect, far from it, not the worst thing ever, but I cannot give it credit for being the first movie with not even that much originality. But let me know what you think, and tell me your thoughts about the movie, and if you disagree with me, tell me why.